So I'm going to switch gears for a
Sure.
second, and I want to talk about theater. How did you get into theater?
Theater came from being involved in arts and creativity. I focused on visual arts as a young kid and took a lot of classes. My parents fostered that quite a bit, and I'm very grateful for that. But there was something about make believe that I always loved. I'd do, whether it was playing just outside with my friends, or we were playing war or something like that, or whether it was playing role playing games later on in life. I just felt like I could. There was something innate in me that I was like, oh, I can connect to this. I can feel kind of where the instincts are to touch on this craft. And I ended up sort of jumping into it late in high school, and just threw myself into it and had some success, won some scholarships for college. And,
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and it went really well. My parents, that's when they started to get behind it. They were like, okay, well, he clearly wants to do this. And then when I started having success, they were like, okay, well, maybe this can be a serious thing. And I had to make a call before going to college between visual arts and performing arts. And I ended up going performing arts, and I wouldn't change that at all. I learned so much. My college experience was great. But oddly enough, you plan your life one way, and I ended up back in, visual arts to a degree with comics years later.
What's the difference for those who don't know between visual arts and performing arts?
The big thing I would say from the way I thought about it, theater was a lot more compartmentalized in a way for me, because you're a piece of the story. I'm a character, and I need to know where I belong in the story and how the story works to a degree, but I only have to focus on my part, and I have to make my part as good as it's possible. You work in an ensemble to a degree, but you can't control other actors. You play off what you imagine that they would give you, even if whatever you imagine was perfect to be given to you, whether they give that to you or not. The same way that you deliver to an extent, the same show for each audience, whether it's an entire auditorium or one person alone. And what I liked about that was both that there was sort of like, oh, you get to be, you get the spotlight to a degree. You get to have your moment, even if you're not the lead. You have the moment when you're on stage and it's your scene, and the focus is on you for a second, or maybe there's one person in the audience who's looking at you instead of the lead, and you're at that moment you are part of that reality. So that's really, I think, intoxicating and engaging in a way. But I always also felt like, oh, I don't know, I was always the guy who was forced to be the game master in role playing, or to kind of put together, well, how are we going to make this creative project? And so I knew, in some way I had the ability to help make the story as a whole come together. And that's what I feel like is different with comics, and at least where I work, in that avenue as a publisher. Because you're more of the director or the overseer to a degree. Although the artist, gets a lot of, like, it's different in ways, because the artist has a lot of control too, because they're defining the visual images. But it does feel more like, oh, we're the storyteller here, as opposed to in theater being a very, like, specific piece of the story.
Absolutely. It's just little nuanced differences that make a big difference.